What are your views on illegal immigration in relation to national security, and how would you as a senator address the growing problem of an unsecure border?
First of all, illegal aliens are illegal.
Here, here.
It's illegal. They've broken the law. And one of the bills that I supported back in 2005 was the Sensenbrenner bill that designates an unlawful presence, such as illegal migration, as a criminal rather than a civil offense. Required employees' work eligibility to be verified by employers, and required a fence to be built. I have always felt that you can't solve the problem until you secure the border. I didn't say close the border, secure the border. It's not that hard to do, in my opinion, and they built some fencing, but you don't necessarily need fencing. You need electronic sensors, and you need people monitoring them, and you need to track these. The reward for illegal immigration, the reward for illegal immigration is amnesty, and that's not right. When I was younger, I picked fruit out in Oregon. My mother's family's from Oregon. Ever heard of Harry and David pears?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they come from Medford, Oregon. Check the box if you get them, or any of their products. Medford, Oregon. My grandfather ran a newspaper in Medford, Oregon. My 3 generations of my family lived out there, and I was out there picking fruit. And when I was picking fruit with people called braceros. The bracero program was a guest worker program, legal guest worker program, where thousands, if not 10,000s, maybe more, workers would come up from Mexico legally, cross the border legally, get employed legally in the farms, the ranches, and the vineyards, and the orchards, all up and down the West Coast. And when the summer and the fall was over, and the picking season and the harvest season was over, they would legally go home. It was a program that worked. It was a program that was developed during World War II, I'm told, when there was a labor shortage in the United States. It was a program that was destroyed by Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers, because they felt as long as that program was in place, it would inhibit their efforts to recruit people into the Union. Well, we're from Connecticut, and you could say, well, that was then, now is now, and Connecticut, we're Connecticut. We don't have a guest worker program in Connecticut. Well, guess what? We do. Yes, we do. And we've had one in Connecticut for half a century. It began with Jamaicans coming up to pick the leaf tobacco during World War II and thereafter. But it extends right up to today. I was in a farm in the western part of the state, I forget which town. I was at a farm where I was told by the farmer that every year, and he does dairy as well as truck farming and other products. Every year, guest workers come up and work on his farm through the Farm Bureau. They come up legally. They're given housing on his property. They fill out forms. They pay a premium for health care. It's all done legally, and when they're paid, they have parts of their pay deducted to cover the cost of their being here, and when the season is over and gets cold, they go back. That is a guest worker program. And sooner or later, I think we as a society need to come to grips with the fact that we really cannot tolerate having this large, illegal group of folks here surreptitiously, undercover, consuming resources, whether they're healthcare resources, whether they're public assistance resources, whether they're education resources. We've got to put our arms around it. But in so doing, I suspect we're going to have to put our arms around the idea of guest workers in this country. And I think that's the only way we can really begin to solve the problem. Secure the border and look at some legal mechanism short of amnesty to deal with those folks who are working here illegally.
One last question, Congressman. Could you name 3 votes you made while in Congress that you would do differently, and why?
I can name 1 vote and 2 co-sponsorships. I was accused of voting for cap and trade. I didn't. I co-sponsored it. I'll never vote for it. I'm sorry I co-sponsored it. I was accused of voting for card check. I didn't vote for it. I co-sponsored it. I'm sorry. I will never vote for it. But what happened between then and now? What happened between then and now was I lost my race in '06. In spring of '07, I became the business advocate for the state of Connecticut, nominated by Governor Rell, approved by the legislature, and I spent 22 months traveling around to businesses, assisting them here in the state of Connecticut. 400 businesses in 22 months. That's one a day, every day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. All over the state. I'd get a call for assistance, and I wouldn't bring them into my office. I'd get their name and address, and I'd go out and visit them and sit and collaborate and talk and get information on what their problem was and work out a solution to the problem, but I'd talk about other issues as well. And during that 22-month period, I would ask them, what else is going on that's a problem? What else is going on that you're concerned about? And by and large, it was energy costs, which cap and trade would increase. And by and large, it was the cost of labor, which, in my opinion at least, the card check legislation would increase. And so I announced last April in a speech before ABC that I no longer supported these and would not support them in the future. The one vote that I regret, and I'm sure there are more, but the one vote that I regret was the vote for the bipartisan resolution to authorize the President to commit troops to Iraq. And the reason I regret it is probably not why you think, but for the year prior, I had publicly said that in my opinion, after we removed Al-Qaeda from Afghanistan, actually we wanted to capture them, not let them run away into Pakistan, but that's another story, but after we removed the Taliban and Al-Qaeda from Afghanistan, that the next stage of dealing with Al-Qaeda would be to deal with them in 60 locations around the world. 60 locations around the world. We're using diplomatic initiatives and secret operations. We could begin to identify and roll up those entities. And that's where our focus should be. That I did not feel at the time that Iraq presented a clear and present danger to the United States. And I was fairly consistent with that position for a year until something happened. And what happened was the intelligence community produced a national intelligence estimate which indicated through its analysis that in fact Iraq did present a clear and present danger to the United States of America. That's what it said. That's what I believed. That's what I used as a basis for my vote. And I learned later, as many others did, that that report was wrong. And that brings us, I think, to a critically important point. That the United States of America is an exceptional country made up of exceptional people. But our democracy needs to be defended. And this democracy needs to be defended in part with the very best intelligence information that we can collect so that our policymakers make right judgments. If a businessman receives wrong information about a future product sale or about the cost of resources that he needs to buy for his business, if he gets wrong information, he's going to make wrong decisions. Well, the same is true of our policymakers. And I would argue that we need to have, especially now with terrorism, we need to have the very best information that we can have. I made a bad judgment based on bad information. And yes, I'm sure that there was some value in removing that dictator. I'm sure there was some value in trying to bring about a change in that country. But my decision was based on information that was inaccurate and incorrect, and therefore I would judge that I made the wrong decision at the time.